Thanks, Paul. Real pleasure to be here. If we jump through to the business overview slide, that'd be a great place to start. Wonderful. So as Paul mentioned, Audeara is a hearing health technology company, and we drive our revenue growth with two complementary business streams. The first is Audeara, where we supply headphones, just like these, and accessories into audiology clinics. Our headphones have special technology that allows us to personalize the sound to the need of each individual listener, and I'll go into that in a minute. But because of our capacity to meet the needs of each individual, we supply our headphones into audiology clinics where people with hearing challenges are looking for solutions. Over the last few years, we've captured the entire Australian market with all global chains and independents in Australia stocking our product, and that has led to international expansion with 3 of the big 5 global players. We also offer our technology directly to the consumer through our own e-commerce online platforms, which is predominantly for the National Disability Insurance Scheme. The next phase of our business, which is one that we're very excited about, is the licensing and contract manufacturing of our technology to well-established, large, global third-party brands. We have 2 main projects on the go at the moment. One is developing a personal sound amplifier, so taking our technology, which is currently in an over-ear format, putting it in-ear all the needs of our most recent strategic investor who came in at a 20% premium to the market, runs Clinico Inc., the largest hearing aid retailer in Taiwan with bridges into China. And we are developing a product to meet the needs of his clinics and his clinic network. The second is product development for one of the world's largest music instrument companies, which will be released shortly on commercial terms. And we have already commenced the revenue stream from our engineering services to develop and bring that product to market. But the highly scalable element is the introduction of our contract manufacturing and licensing, where we take a clip of the ticket on every unit that they are selling. So it will be the first time that our technology is being utilized by powerful third-party brands, and the flows from that revenue stream go directly to the bottom line. Next slide, please. So what makes Audeara different is the fact that we focus our audio solutions on the person actually listening to the product. We have a hearing check algorithm, which allows each individual to see what their own hearing is like within the product. And we are able to use that algorithm to then tailor the sound that is produced by the product to the needs of each individual and each individual ear. Every person hears differently. Every person's right ear hears differently from their left. And people who know they have a hearing challenge are our primary target for this technology. While the headphones are suitable and capable of being simply a high-quality Bluetooth noise-cancelling headphone for people with normal hearing, our key target are people who know that they have a hearing challenge. They're actively seeking that solution, and we position our products and our technology as on the way to, or as well as your existing hearing devices. And that makes us an incredible value add to audiology clinics. What's really exciting about audiology is it's one of the largest global industries that very few people actually know much about. Next slide, please. Our ability to engage with these audiology clinics has led to continued year-on-year growth in our core segment, which is Australian audiology clinics, places where people are going and looking to buy hearing aids. That's where we have been selling our headphones. And as you can see here, that revenue growth has been continuing. But what we are really excited about is using the Australian market as a nice bedrock, but the growth and the catalysts are coming from the top of these little bars here, which have just kicked off, which is our AUA technology, which, as I mentioned, is our new contract manufacturing and licensing stream, which will be highly scalable, and the introduction of our product into the international audiology market. Next slide, please. Why that market is so appealing is that it is so tightly held by a handful of global players, with the top 5 audiology retailers dominating around 80% of the global hearing health industry. Now, traditionally, people associate hearing loss with being an old person problem. As you age, your hearing gets worse, and that's just a matter of life. And while it is true that 50% of people over the age of 75 have an identified hearing loss is becoming more readily identifiable earlier in life, with the World Health Organization alerting us to the rather alarming fact that they believe by 2030, there will be almost 1 billion people under the age of 30 with identified hearing loss, primarily caused by noise-induced hearing loss, which is in fact preventable. Now, this addressable market of people with an identified hearing loss has been stated at 1.9 billion, and there is a handful of companies actively addressing that market. All of those global companies are very well represented in Australia because of our incredibly strong government reimbursement scheme, and on the back of our successful integration into the clinics in Australia, the international groups have started taking us with them internationally. And I'll get to that in just a second. But a part that is really quite interesting about these global players is that the optical chains, the places where you're actively going in to test your eyes, have started to see that adding ears into the mix is going to be an incredible growth opportunity for their revenue streams. The biggest player in that space for us here in Australia is Specsavers, the incredibly well-known optical retailer. But just recently, Luxottica and Fielmans, who are primarily European-based but globally dominated brands, have started to introduce audiology services into their optical chains as well, which provides an incredible growth opportunity beyond the well-established pure audiology chains to start introducing products like ours that are on the way to a hearing aid into those optical chains. And as you can see here, Amplifon have roughly 600 points of sale in Australia, but they have 9,000 globally. And 12 months ago, we announced the securing of a tender to be the only over-ear headphone stocked in those clinics globally. And what we're really excited about is that international rollout, country by country, introducing our product into their points of sale, which, as you can clearly see, is an incredible scalable opportunity. Next slide, please. So looking at what we've been able to do with that opportunity to date, as I said, we've captured that Australian market. We're stocked in over 1,400 clinics, and that is our primary revenue stream. The reason we're excited about the Australian clinics and the reason the global audiology industry is so focused on having a strong Australian presence is because our Australian healthcare system offers full reimbursement for our products in 3 categories: the Hearing Services Program, the Department of Veterans Affairs, and the National Disability Insurance Scheme. So the majority of people get our product for 0 out-of-pocket expense. That creates a great foundation. And as you can see, we've started to kick off internationally with Austria, Hungary, and the USA. And that's on top of our upcoming technology licensing streams, which is why we're so excited. Thanks, Paul. Love to answer some questions.
Yeah, James, absolutely fascinating presentation. Lots of questions for you. Let's start. Your recent results announcement showed another record quarterly revenue. What were the drivers of this strong revenue result?
What we saw was the integration of the product sales into these large national chains. A few years ago, what we were announcing was additional clinics, and that was seen as the lead indicator. We had a very clean and clear business model. Grow the number of clinics, grow the amount of revenue per clinic. So over the last few years, it's been growing the clinics. And as they start to integrate, as we upskill, as we uptrain, as we start to see them flow through, you're then getting the revenue following behind. So the clinic numbers went up, the revenue numbers have gone up like we were hoping they would.
And to what extent did the company's international expansion contribute to these strong results?
So as we saw on that revenue chart, the introductory orders from the international markets have been quite modest. They're very staged out processes, and most of these international markets came on board May, June. So they haven't been contributing actively to that growth, and that's what we're excited about over the coming financial year.
Yeah, and where do you expect to see revenue growth coming from forward? Is from those international markets?
Yes, that's right. Australia will be a nice foundation, but the big revenue uptick is going to be the international markets and the technology licensing streams.
And what new sectors and industry groups can you target going forward?
So we have established ourselves as a healthy hearing partner of the Brisbane Lions AFL team, but with our new technology streams coming out, it will be more applicable in corporate settings. So there is the addition outside of audiology, but it's this introduction of optical players into the hearing health space that we see as an enormous upside, as well as the technology licensing. Because as those third-party brands grow the amount of units they order, we take our clip of the ticket. So 5,000 pieces, 10,000 pieces, 100,000 pieces, that all goes straight to our bottom line.
And it's obviously very unique technology that you use. How easy is it to copy this technology?
Quite difficult. It takes a lot of math and a lot of hard work. And I was actually going to be a surgeon before I started doing the health technology play. But yes, it is very sophisticated digital signal processing. And of course, there are competitors in our space who offer personalized sound solutions. But we use a medical-based model to add the authenticity, and that's why we're the trusted supplier in the audiology space.
Got you. And look, the company also delivered a lower cost line and outflows. How has this been achieved, and how much more can you do to lower the cost line further?
Yeah, so we are very strongly aware that our growth and the uptick is going to be coming from the launching in these international markets and the first purchase orders received from our licensing stream. So we knew we had it to maintain a strong cash balance to be well resourced for when those opportunities are coming to market. So we implemented some cost reductions in salaries. We had to reduce our staff count for markets that weren't acting as fast as we'd like. We think we've right-sized appropriately. And so from here, there's always going to be a focus on that below-the-line activity, but we know that the real profitability is going to be coming from increasing the revenues.
Got you. And James, you mentioned a stat earlier. I'd love to get you to repeat that. I think you said that there's 1 billion people under 30 that have been identified with hearing loss. Did I hear that correctly?
You did, and it is quite alarming. We've actually performed some hearing screening in high schools, and it's 10% of 10-year-olds that have an identifiable hearing loss. And so as you start to extrapolate that out, it's quite an alarming scene. We actually sent our lead research engineer across to the World Health Organization a few months ago because there's a very active push to be implementing as many initiatives as possible to reduce that impact of noise-induced hearing loss, which is listening to headphones too loud, going out to clubs without hearing protection, working in construction industry without appropriate PPE. There's a number of reasons contributing, but it's certainly an alarming statistic.
And you touched on this earlier, but just talk a bit more about it. What does the competitive landscape look like at the moment? And who are your key competitors? And what does the market share look like across the sort of major players?
I think the core fundamental to our competitive landscape is understanding that while our first application of technology is headphones, we don't put our product into the JB Hi-Fi's, the Best Buys. That's not our play. We're not competing with Bose, Beats, Sony, Sennheiser in JB Hi-Fi and mass consumer electronics. We're providing our technology into the audiology clinic. And in that setting, we are either the only or one of two headphones on option. The main competitor in the audiology industry is Sennheiser, which has recently been purchased by Sonova, who are one of the big five audiology groups I've been mentioning. And our job is to stay one step ahead of them and get the rest of the clinics adopting our technology in the way that Amplifon has to win that distribution market share.
And James, look, I've been following the Audeara story since you IPO'd 12, 14 months ago. You made significant inroads over that period of time. This is not just Audeara, but small caps have been under pressure. You can't be happy with where the share price is at the moment. What catalysts can we see that hopefully will really drive what great business you have to investors and get the share price heading in the right direction?
Yeah, no, I have been happier with the share price. It was a bit higher, but the international clinic growth, so that first launch into big high volume markets in Europe is a key catalyst. And also that first purchase order for the licensing, saying that we've taken it from the services stream into that straight to the bottom line. So when those first purchase orders come in from the licensing stream, you'll know that that part of the business has really kicked into gear. And those are some great catalysts to look forward to.
Dr. James Fielding, thank you so much for your time today, and we'd love to get you back on later in the year. Have a great weekend.
Thank you, Paul. You too.